where somebody close to you, either close in a relationship or living with you, does harmful things that are potentially dangerous.
Domestic violence is whatever ways emotionally, psychologically, physically that a person can abuse another person that are in a relationship, whether or not they're married or living together or anything like that. And it can come from one sex to the other or the same sex.
Domestic violence, what does it mean to me? It means any type of emotional or physical abuse that is perpetrated against someone, whether it be male or female, child, the elderly.
I would say, even though it's not physically harmful, verbal abuse could count as domestic violence, and sexual assault also.
Physical, emotional, mental, sexual, I guess, would go under physical, but yeah.
But to me, domestic violence means both emotional and physical, and sometimes emotional abuse can be just as damaging as physical abuse because it can lead to a lot of different things from low self-esteem, self-mutilation, eating disorders, substance abuse, alcohol abuse, things like that. So, I think it happens pretty much on a regular basis, but sometimes people don't report it because they don't want others involved. They don't want their friends and family to know they're being abused. If they are a male victim of domestic violence, they don't want people to know that they're being abused by their female partner or their male partner for that matter, because domestic violence does happen in same-sex relationships. But it does happen. It does happen quite a bit. I used to work at.
Probably happens to a lot of people every day. I'm sure the statistics are pretty high if you got an actual count.
I think that whenever the relationship can get a little one-sided, like the power dynamics within the relationship are uneven and it's not an equal relationship.
I don't think there's really a set time that it happens. I think that there are some external factors that trigger it happening, whether it be alcohol abuse, drug abuse, unemployment. Maybe there is a financial situation in the household, or a perpetrator comes from a family of violence, things like that. Things obviously excuse the violence, but those are some things that could trigger a violent response.
The perpetrators are people who think they're right, and just because they're stronger, they can win. And the victims are anybody who gets in the way of those angry people.
I think that can range. I think the majority of the victims are women, and most perpetrators are men. But I've heard of a few cases where it's women being the perpetrators and men being the victims, or in same-sex relationships that could go both
ways. It's considered emotional abuse, and sometimes, like I said before, depending on the nature of the altercation, depending on the nature of the words, those types of things can lead to a lot of other problems. Like I said, eating disorders, self-mutilation, low self-esteem, substance abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, different things like that. So I would consider that emotional abuse.
I believe that the person would suffer from low self-esteem, a feeling of helplessness, feeling trapped by the relationship, depending on how manipulative or how controlling the partner is.
You have to live knowing that somebody that you thought cared about you hurt you in that way, or just anything that could happen if you were to have to leave your family because of it.
A lot of people would probably say I would just leave, but we all know it's not that easy. I would definitely use the resources in my community, however, depending where I am, but if I was here in Ames, use Access. They have a 24-hour crisis line. They do have a shelter that you can go to if you don't feel safe, and use those services that are in our community. Sometimes shelters do have a waiting list, and what they do is they go by sort of a triage system where depending on how much violence or how much danger you're in, whether or not they will bring you to the shelter. Other times, if you feel that you're going to be okay, that maybe you don't live with your abuser, or you just feel that you're still safe, you can use our 24-hour crisis line, and they do have support groups that you can attend to help you work through the violence. But I would definitely use the resources in my community, whether it be the crisis line or having to go to the shelter if I felt that I was in danger.
I would try to seek help. Luckily, I have taken a number of classes, that have given me information, or given all of us information on those kinds of services, so I'm aware of them, and I would know that they were there, and I would try to seek help through them, or if it was really bad, I guess maybe go to a shelter and seek physical safety there.
You can go to jail, I'm sure, if you get called in. I think it's sad that a lot of women don't call the police because it's somebody that they care about that's hurting them.
I feel that jail time obviously needs to be in effect, but on the flip side of that, a lot of times victims will not prosecute. Let me rephrase. They won't. It's not that they won't prosecute, but they will tell the lawyers not to prosecute, tell the state not to prosecute, because they feel that if their perpetrator went to jail, they may not have an income in the family, because there might be a situation where the perpetrator is the only source of income, so they won't have an income coming into the house. The perpetrator may more than likely be more violent and angry when he gets out. A lot of times when perpetrators do get jail time, they go through a batterers education program on how not to batter. And there has been a lot of controversy around those types of programs because some advocates will say that it's a bunch of perpetrators that are teaching each other how to be better perpetrators and how to sort of beat the system. But I still think that some sort of jail time needs to be enforced. Also, I feel that if you are convicted of domestic violence, that if you have any sort of gun permit, that needs to be eliminated, because if you have a gun permit and the violence escalates, you might be more likely to use that and kill your victim, or use it to threaten him or her. So I do think some jail time needs to be enforced, and also some batterers education, but not to the point where batterers are teaching other batterers how to be better batterers. Really trying to get to the source of the problem. A lot of people say that once you're a batterer, you're always a batterer, and that you're not actually ever cured of your violent tendencies, but you're more able to control them. And remember, it's not okay to abuse someone, whether they be male or female. So really trying to look at those things and really trying it to be more of a positive effect than just learning how to beat the system.